Have you ever watched someone who always seems to be alone? The person at the office who eats lunch at their desk, the neighbor who never has visitors, the figure in the park walking a solitary path. Our minds rush to fill in the blanks. To complete the sentence, a lack of friends indicates that a person is very, what? Lonely? Arrogant? Awkward? Broken? Our society is a grand theater of connection. From the moment we are born, we are taught to seek companionship, to build networks, to accumulate friends like currency. Social media platforms quantify our popularity with follower counts and friend lists, turning human connection into a metric of success. In this world, the lone wolf is an anomaly, a puzzle to be solved or a problem to be fixed. We see them and we whisper our judgments, projecting our own fears of isolation onto them. We assume their solitude is a sign of deficiency, a failure to play the game of social integration. But what if we are asking the wrong questions? What if our rush to judgment blinds us to a deeper truth? The ancient Stoics, masters of the human psyche, would urge us to pause, to look beyond the surface. They would challenge us to consider that the absence of a crowd does not necessarily mean the presence of a void. They would suggest that the sentence might end very differently. A lack of friends might indicate that a person is very selective, very focused, very self-aware, or perhaps very free. Today, we will dismantle the modern myth of popularity. We will journey into the heart of solitude, not as a curse, but as a crucible for character. We will explore the profound Stoic wisdom on friendship, a wisdom that values quality over quantity, virtue over validation. And we will dare to complete that sentence in a way that transforms our understanding of what it means to be alone and what it truly means to be connected. Before we delve deeper, let's first confront the beast, the assumption that more is always better. We live in an age of hyper-connectivity. We can speak to someone on the other side of the world with the click of a button. We carry our social networks in our pockets, a constant stream of updates, likes, and comments. Yet, amidst this ocean of digital chatter, many report feeling more isolated than ever. We have hundreds, even thousands of friends. But who can we call at 3 in the morning when our world is falling apart? The Roman philosopher Seneca, writing 2,000 years ago, saw the seeds of this paradox. He warned, "Everywhere is nowhere." When a person spends all his time in foreign travel, he ends by having many acquaintances, but no friends. His words echo through the centuries, a chillingly accurate diagnosis of our modern condition. We are social travelers, flitting from one profile to the next, collecting acquaintances like souvenirs, but rarely staying long enough to cultivate the deep roots of genuine friendship. This relentless pursuit of social quantity often comes at a cost. To be universally liked, one must often become universally bland. You sand down your sharp edges, you soften your controversial opinions, you laugh at jokes you don't find funny. You become a chameleon, changing your colors to match your surroundings, terrified of standing out, of being disapproved of. In the desperate scramble for external validation, you risk losing the one thing that is truly yours, your own character. The Stoics taught that the greatest source of human misery is this very act of placing our happiness in the hands of others, in things outside of our control. Epictetus, the slave who became a revered philosopher, put it bluntly. The chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control. The number of friends you have is an external. Their opinions of you are externals. Your follower count is an external. These things are not truly yours. Your character, your principles, your integrity, these are the choices you control. So when we see a person with few friends, our first thought shouldn't be, what is wrong with them? But rather, what might be right with them? Perhaps they have made a conscious choice to reclaim their focus. Perhaps they have decided that the price of admission to the popular crowd is simply too high, that it costs more than their integrity is willing to pay. A lack of friends might not be a sign of social failure, but a declaration of self-sovereignty. It might indicate that a person is very principled. Consider the lives of some of the most influential figures in history. Nikola Tesla, whose mind illuminated the world, was famously reclusive. He found the clamor of social life a distraction from the symphony of ideas playing in his head. He once remarked, "I do not think there is any thrill that can go through the human heart like that felt by the inventor as he sees some creation of the brain unfolding to success." Such emotions make a man forget food, sleep, friends, love, everything. Was Tesla lonely? Or was he simply in a deep, committed relationship with his own genius? The path to mastery in any field often requires long periods of dedicated solitude. It is in the quiet hours, free from the obligation of social performance, that deep work is done. It is where the writer wrestles with the sentence, the scientist with the equation, the artist with the canvas. In this context, a lack of a bustling social life isn't a deficit, it's a strategic advantage. It is a conscious allocation of the most precious resource we have, time. As the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer noted, a man can be himself only so long as he is alone, and if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom. For it is only when he is alone that he is really free. This freedom is the liberty to pursue your own thoughts without interruption, to cultivate your own values without compromise, and to build a life that is aligned with your deepest purpose, not with the fleeting expectations of a crowd. The person who walks alone may not be lost. They may be on an expedition, an inward journey to discover who they are when no one else is looking. Their solitude is not emptiness, but a space filled with potential, a workshop for the soul. A lack of friends, then, could indicate that a person is very well focused. This is not to say that Stoicism advocates for a life of bitter, misanthropic isolation. Far from it. The Stoics held friendship in the highest regard, viewing it as one of the most valuable treasures in life. However, their definition of a friend was radically different from our modern, casual usage of the word. For the Stoics, a true friend was not a drinking buddy, a networking contact, or a source of entertainment. A true friend was a second self, a mirror to your soul, a partner in the shared pursuit of virtue. This is a standard of breathtaking height. A Stoic friendship is not based on shared hobbies, mutual benefits, or even simple affection. It is based on a shared commitment to becoming better human beings. Seneca wrote extensively on this topic. In one of his letters, he advises, "Ponder for a long time whether you shall admit a person to your friendship, but when you have decided to admit him, welcome him with all your heart and soul. Speak as boldly with him as with yourself." He goes on to describe the kind of person to avoid: the flatterer, the fair-weather friend, the one who drains your energy and encourages your vices. Instead, he says, if you consider any man a friend whom you do not trust as you trust yourself, you are mightily mistaken, and you do not sufficiently understand what true friendship means. According to this profound standard, how many people in your life would qualify as a true friend? 1, 2, none? Seen through this lens, a person with very few friends might not be antisocial. They might be an idealist. They are unwilling to settle for the shallow, superficial connections that society offers in abundance. They refuse to call someone a friend who is merely an acquaintance. They are holding out for the real thing, for a bond forged in trust, respect, and mutual growth. They understand that the wrong company is worse than no company at all. As Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, reminded himself in his private meditations, it is better to be alone than in bad company. Bad company does more than just waste our time. It can actively corrupt our character. We are porous beings, absorbing the attitudes, habits, and values of those around us. If you surround yourself with gossip, you will become a gossip. If you surround yourself with cynicism, you will become a cynic. If you surround yourself with people who value wealth and status above all else, you will find your own values slowly eroding. Seneca warned of the moral contagion of the crowd, stating, "I never bring back home the same character that I took with me." He recognized that even the strongest resolve can be weakened by constant exposure to vice and folly. Therefore, the wise person is exceptionally careful about who they allow into their inner circle. They act as a vigilant gatekeeper of their own mind and soul. This selectivity is not born of arrogance or a sense of superiority. It is born of self-respect. It is the recognition that your inner peace and your moral integrity are precious, and they should not be compromised for the sake of fitting in. A lack of friends, in this light, can be a sign of immense strength. It indicates that a person is very selective. Furthermore, the ultimate aim of Stoic practice is to build what is often called an inner citadel. This is a fortress of the mind, a place of unshakable tranquility and resilience that is immune to the chaos of the external world. It is built brick by brick through the practice of self-reflection, the study of wisdom, and the consistent application of virtuous principles. The person who is dedicated to this inner construction project may have little time or energy for the trivialities of much social interaction. Their greatest conversations are often with themselves or with the great minds of history through the books they read. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man in the world, constantly surrounded by courtiers, generals, and politicians. Yet his most famous work, Meditations, is a private journal, a record of his intimate conversation with himself. It was in this solitude that he found the strength to rule an empire. This journey inward is the most important journey any of us will ever take. It is the process of becoming our own best friend. When you have a strong, stable, and loving relationship with yourself, your need for external validation diminishes. You no longer look to others to tell you that you are worthy, that you are interesting, that you are enough. You know it from within. This doesn't mean you become incapable of loving others or forming deep connections. On the contrary, it is only when you are whole on your own that you can enter into a friendship without neediness, without using the other person to fill a void within yourself. You can love them for who they are, not for what they provide you. You connect from a place of strength and abundance, not from a place of weakness and scarcity. The person who has cultivated this inner self-sufficiency may appear aloof to the outside world. They don't chase invitations, they are comfortable with silence. They can spend a weekend with no plans and feel perfectly content. To the untrained eye, this looks like loneliness. To the Stoic, it looks like freedom. It is the freedom that comes from knowing that your happiness is generated internally. A lack of friends, therefore, might indicate that a person is very self-sufficient. Now, we must be careful not to romanticize solitude to the point of absurdity. The path of wisdom is a path of balance, not extremes. While a lack of friends can be a sign of strength, principle, and focus, it can also undeniably be a symptom of something else. A lack of friends can indicate that a person is very afraid. They may have been hurt in the past, betrayed by those they trusted, and have built walls around their heart not as a citadel, but as a prison. Their solitude is not a choice, but a defense mechanism, a way to avoid the risk of vulnerability. They keep others at a distance not because their standards are high, but because their fear is deep. A lack of friends can also indicate that a person is very arrogant. They may believe that they are superior to others, too intelligent, too sophisticated, or too enlightened for the company of ordinary people. This is not the selective wisdom of the Stoic, but the isolating pride of the narcissist. The Stoic is selective to protect their virtue. The arrogant person is selective to protect their ego. The former leads to tranquility, the latter to a bitter and genuine loneliness. And a lack of friends can indicate that a person is very difficult. They may be consumed by anger, negativity, or a victim mentality that makes them draining to be around. They may lack the basic social skills of empathy, listening, and reciprocity that are the bedrock of any healthy relationship. In these cases, their isolation is not a sign of inner strength, but a direct result of their own unresolved inner turmoil. The key, as always in Stoicism, lies in honest self-examination. We must ask why. Why is this person alone? If you are that person, you must ask yourself these hard questions. Is your solitude a choice or a consequence? Is it a source of peace or a source of pain? Are you building a citadel or a prison? Are you protecting your principles or your ego? The answers to these questions are what separate empowering solitude from debilitating loneliness. It is the difference between the philosopher retreating to his study to contemplate virtue and the bitter recluse who curses a world he feels has rejected him. Both are alone, but their inner worlds are universes apart. So we return to our original, unfinished sentence. A lack of friends indicates that a person is very. We can now see that no single word can complete it. To fill in the blank with lonely or arrogant is a simplistic judgment. To fill it in with principled or self-sufficient is a romantic assumption. The truth is that a person's social circle, or lack thereof, is merely a piece of external data. It tells us nothing definitive about the quality of their inner life. The true measure of a person is not found in the number of people who surround them, but in the character they cultivate in the quiet moments. It is found in their integrity, their courage, their compassion, and their wisdom. A person can be the life of every party and be utterly bankrupt of virtue. Another can live a life of quiet solitude and possess the riches of a well-examined soul. Let us therefore challenge ourselves to be more like the Stoics. Let us suspend our quick judgments of others. When we see the person walking alone, let us replace our pity or suspicion with a sense of curiosity and respect. They may be on a journey we cannot see, fighting battles we do not understand, or building a world within themselves more magnificent than any social gathering. And more importantly, let us turn that lens of inquiry upon ourselves. Let us examine the nature of our own connections. Are our friendships built on a foundation of virtue, or on the shifting sands of convenience and entertainment? Do our social interactions make us better, or do they merely distract us from the essential work of self-improvement? Are we seeking friends to complete us, or are we seeking to become whole ourselves so that we may offer the gift of a complete person to others? In the end, the goal is not to have many friends or few friends. The goal is to live a life of virtue and meaning. If that life includes a small, carefully chosen circle of true friends who walk the path of wisdom with you, it is a profound blessing. If that life requires long periods of solitude to cultivate your purpose and strengthen your character, that too is a blessing. The sentence was never about them, it was always about us. Our answer reveals more about our own values and fears than it does about the person we are observing. A lack of friends indicates that a person is very human, a complex individual whose inner world is as rich, as varied, and as mysterious as our own. And the most virtuous thing we can do is to grant them the grace of that complexity and to focus on cultivating our own garden, whether we tend to it alone or with the cherished company of a few good friends.